Hello there, and welcome back to another video. In the Star Wars archives, George Lucas and the production crew behind the prequel trilogy reveal dozens of story ideas, character arcs, and concepts that were planned, designed, and in some cases even filmed, but never made it into the final films. In this video, we're counting down the top 5 things we almost got or didn't get in The Phantom Menace, all based directly on material from the Star Wars archives. In at number 5, we have Anakin's blood sample scene being originally shot in the pod racer hangar. George explains that he initially shot Qui-Gon taking Anakin's blood sample in the arena hangar. However, he rewrote the scene and put it on the balcony at night so that Anakin could talk about the stars. He wanted to get a sense of Anakin's future and his dreams and where he expected to go, so he needed that introspective moment. Personally, I really like this change. The scene on the balcony is one that a lot of kids can relate to. I know I sure did, where you're full of dreams and ambitions. It also adds to the purity of Anakin when we first meet him, and it adds to the whole story of how can a good person turn evil. In at number 4, we have Palpatine watching Anakin's career with great interest. This scene was actually never shot to begin with. However, George Lucas called up producer Rick McCallum and said, "There's a wonderful opportunity here for Palpatine to acknowledge Anakin." On March 20, 1999, 2 months before the movie released, Jake Lloyd, Ewan McGregor, and Ian McDiarmid were recalled to Leavesden to shoot an additional scene. The shot cost about $18,000 to do. I love this moment, and the fact it was added in so late just makes it so much better for me. The only foreshadowing we had of Anakin and Palpatine's future relationship up until that point was how Qui-Gon's funeral was staged. You have Anakin on one end, Palpatine up the other, and Padme and Obi-Wan in between them. Those two would be the ones that would stand in the way of Palpatine reaching Anakin, but of course that was something he would eventually overcome. This scene gives us a clear acknowledgement and a genuine starting point for their relationship. And as a bonus, it also became one of the best prequel memes. In at number 3, we have Darth Maul's appearance. Now, this piece of concept art for Darth Maul helped form the foundation for the version we ultimately got. This was designed by concept artist Ian McCaig, who did a lot of work on the prequels. In this design, he drew feathers attached by coils of wire that cut into the flesh, which was supposed to add an element of beauty to the design. The beauty was supposed to tie into the element of seduction to the dark side. These feathers were of course later turned into horns. Hot Toys actually brought this version of Maul to life as a figure for Star Wars Celebration in Japan last year, giving us a clearer idea of how this design might have looked in full. Although it is a super cool design, I am glad they went with what we got. The horns give him a much more demonic appearance, and the colours of black robes with his red and black face serve that look of, just pure, sinister evil so much more effectively. In at number 2, we have Obi-Wan voluntarily taking on the apprenticeship of Anakin Skywalker. Why Obi-Wan volunteers will make more sense when we get to number 1 on this list. This storyline comes from the first draft of the first script and goes as follows, straight from the mouth of George Lucas. The story has Obi-Wan as a young Jedi in his mid-20s. He's ambitious and takes on the mentorship of this kid who starts out about 8 or 9 years old. The kid is enthusiastic, good, and compassionate. Even though he wasn't raised a Jedi, he has a lot of Jedi qualities about him. Even though he's too old to start the training of a Jedi, Obi-Wan feels the Force is so strong with him that he has to train him as a Jedi. With Obi-Wan voluntarily taking on Anakin as an apprentice, it removes a lot of the friction in their relationship, as well as making Obi-Wan more of the father figure that Anakin needed, rather than the brotherly role he ended up playing. Obi-Wan's point of view is that he is fulfilling an obligation, a promise made to his dying master to train the boy. He feels sorry for Anakin that he's stuck with a master who might not be ready. If Obi-Wan had volunteered from the beginning, that tension would just vanish, and that friction is so important. It helps highlight Anakin's arrogance and emotional instability, which are crucial to his eventual fall. As a special mention, George was going to put more in there about the Wills and the midichlorians. We covered this in a video recently, but I did just want to touch on it as a special mention. Personally, I love the concept of the Wills and midichlorians and the symbiotic nature between them. I just love getting into the tiny details and hearing the way George thinks about the Force. To me, it is one of the most pure and beautiful things about Star Wars. In at number 1, there is no Qui-Gon Jinn. Like I said with number 2 on this list, number 1 would help it make a bit more sense. Originally, there was no Qui-Gon. This is why Obi-Wan would have volunteered to take Anakin on as an apprentice willingly, because at that stage, he wasn't an apprentice, and there was no Qui-Gon to make a promise to. When Qui-Gon wasn't initially in the script, George was struggling to develop Obi-Wan's character fast enough. When he got through the next draft, he realized he had a second Jedi come in about halfway through who was quite interesting. So he began to think of things the two Jedi could do together, because Obi-Wan alone didn't have much to react to. As a result, Qui-Gon Jinn was created and Obi-Wan became a Padawan. A world without Qui-Gon is a world I don't want to be a part of. His view on the Force and rebellion against the Jedi's narrow-minded view would have never existed. We wouldn't have the explanation we do today of how Jedi are able to transition to Force ghosts in death. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, with number 2 on this list, no Qui-Gon means Obi-Wan has no one to make a promise to train Anakin. Speaking of Anakin, the impact of Qui-Gon's death would never have existed. Because of his untimely passing, Anakin doubted that anybody could truly protect him, so he decided to become so powerful that he could protect others. That belief sits at the heart of Anakin's tragedy. Last, but certainly not least, we wouldn't have the iconic quote, "Your focus determines your reality." And that's the top 5 things we almost did or didn't get in the Phantom Menace based on the Star Wars archives. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to catch the next episode. Next time, we'll be moving on to Attack of the Clones, where even more ideas were explored, reshaped, and ultimately left behind during development. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.